This is Nick Nielsen, Mad Scientist of Muscle, and what I've got for you today here is a review of the Men's 40 Plus Multivitamin from Ancient Nutrition. Now, this product, this brand, essentially is all about going back to how we used to eat and how we used to live. Our modern diet these days does not provide the same level of nutrients that our diet even, 30, 40, 50 years used to. So their aim is to kind of take you back to the nutrition and how we used to get it. So their products are excellent in terms of whole food ingredients. Now, I'll give you a close-up view of the bottle here. As you can see, Men's 40 Plus. They also have a product for men under 40. They have a product for women under 40, women over 40. So they have a wide variety of different multivitamin products here that you can choose from. I find multivitamins to be like a really good base, cover your bases kind of supplement. I think they're important for people to take just because of that, because we don't get enough nutrients from the food that we're eating. Even when we think we're eating enough of those foods, farming practices over time means that we're not getting the same nutrition levels from those foods. So what I'm going to do here is kind of run through some of the ingredients in this product and give you an idea of what they're good for. Basically, as they're going through a Men's 40 Plus product, it has more to do with the aging process and kind of mitigating the effects of the aging process and helping you kind of stay younger in your physiology, which I think is really important. And there's a lot you can do nutritionally to help prevent aging from really taking its toll on your body. And I've talked about this before. I've even created an entire program for anti-aging for your muscles. This is kind of a base level support for anti-aging for your entire body, all the systems, cardiovascular, skin, immunity, digestion, kind of everything in here. So it's got a really good spectrum of vitamins and minerals. A couple of things I want to point out in here. Most of these are above the RDA, which is, the RDA is kind of arbitrary, so I don't even I take all that with a grain of salt. One of the big things in here, and I've done a lot of research on this lately, is vitamin K, the M7 form of it. Now, there are three different basic forms of K. There's K1, which has a lot more to do with clotting. There's K2, and which I didn't even know before I did this research, two forms of of K2. One is M4 and one is M7. Now, M4 is synthetic, doesn't last as long in your body. M7 is derived from natto, which is basically a more fermented, more absorbable and more useful thing for your body, especially for bone density and for preventing cardiovascular complications. For example, when you're taking in calcium in your diet, it helps to shuttle that calcium into your bones versus allowing it to settle in your arteries. So preventing calcium from settling in your arteries is a very good thing, especially as we get older. This happens to the best of us, and it doesn't matter how strong and healthy you think you are. Sometimes genetic components play a really big role in that, and this is something that I've had to keep an eye on because I do have a family history of this. So I've been doing a lot of research on this lately just to, kind of keep myself healthy as possible. I'm 51 now, so I need to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on my cardiovascular system. One of the other ingredients that's going to jump out at you here is turmeric, which some people pronounce turmeric. It can be done both ways. But essentially, this is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, and it's a really good addition to this product. Another one here, organic hawthorn berry extract. This is excellent for heart health. So it actually supports your circulatory system and your cardiovascular system. So the next ingredient we come to here is fenugreek seed. Now, this has shown to be beneficial for supporting and potentially improving testosterone levels. So this is a good one to add into a 40 plus multivitamin for men because, everybody knows as we get older, those levels tend to decrease. So we want to do everything we can to support those. Next one, chicken bone broth and beef bone broth. This is essentially for collagen protein. For this, because this is just a multivitamin, I think you'd be better off taking like a dedicated collagen product, which Ancient Nutrition does actually offer. You're not going to get enough collagen in a multivitamin to really make that much of a difference. So that's kind of how I feel about that one. Next, we come to ginseng root, which is good for overall immunity, and it's kind of an adaptogen, so it can help your body adapt to stresses, which is always good, especially as we get older. We need help with that sometimes. So the last ingredient I want to cover here is wild hake roe, which is essentially fish eggs. Now, these are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, selenium, B12, The omega-3s are great for your cardiovascular system, as is the selenium, B12, really good for your nervous system. So that's a rundown of the ingredients in the product. Now, the weakness of NA multivitamin is the fact that you can't stuff as much of each individual ingredient as you probably would want to in the product, otherwise you're taking like a giant fistful of pills. So this is more like the general practitioner of supplements in terms of how it's trying to cover every base or a wider variety of bases versus going really deep and going really hefty on any one ingredient. So like I said, this is something that any multivitamin is going to run into. And the amounts of the vitamins and minerals in here are really good. The more specific ingredients, like when we're getting into the fenugreek and we're getting into the hawthorn berry, you're not going to be able to potentially fit as much of these as you want to that could have a really, really strong effect on the body. For example, the fenugreek, these studies have shown you need at least like 500 milligrams of this. You're not going to be able to fit 500 milligrams of fenugreek and also have all the other stuff in here as well. So you may not get as much of this as you need for a really strong effect. It's going to cover kind of very basic levels of things, and that's what really a multivitamin is for covering, it's like nutritional insurance. Whereas if you really wanted to test fenugreek for boosting your testosterone, you would want to focus on a very dedicated fenugreek only product, and that kind of goes for a lot of the stuff in here as well. It's really good ingredients, but there may not be enough to really have a very strong noticeable effect. But you are going to notice you're going to feel just better in general because this is going to cover a lot of those nutritional bases that you may not be covering with your food alone. This is not a vegetarian or vegan friendly product because of the ingredients that are in here, the bone broth, the chicken and the beef bone broth, and the fish. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, this is not the product for you. You're going to need to kind of probably look for a different company because Ancient Nutrition, they do a lot of animal-based products, and that's their primary focus. So with that in mind, overall, I really like this multivitamin. I like this much better than a lot of the multivitamins that I've tried. It has a really good spectrum of nutrients, and the product sourcing is all organic, and it's very well sourced, and the individual vitamins and minerals are the forms that are actually most bioavailable. So with that in mind, this is something I have no problem recommending, and I think it's an excellent overall multivitamin.